This is the Virginia 5, which was built by the West Pass Transportation Company in 1922. It's the 5th Virginia boat that they had and the last one they built. It was built to serve the farmers and businessmen on the west side of Vashon Island. Back in those days, it was difficult for them to get their goods to market, and so they had their own steamboat line that ran from Tacoma up the west side of Vashon to Seattle, where they dropped off their goods at Pike's Market to sell them to the public. This was part of what was called the Mosquito Fleet, which was a fleet of over 300 boats that were all similar to this, that used to serve all the little communities in the Puget Sound area. They also used the ship to perform basic transportation. You know, if they needed to go to town or they needed to get anything, they would either stand on a dock where the steamboat stopped, or they could actually row out to a buoy and just wave a flag and the steamboat would stop and pick them up, or they could stand on just about anywhere the steamship could get to and wave a flag and the steamship would come and pick them up. One of the big things about the Virginia 5 that makes it a real part of Northwest history is the fact that she used to carry campfire girls from Seattle to Camp Sealth on Vashon Island for their summer camp every year. And she did that from 1922 clear through 1970.
Virginia 5 is the only sole remaining member of the Mosquito Fleet, and it is one of only 2 vessels of its type still in operation in the continental United States. That is a wooden hull, propeller-driven steamship.
What you're looking at is a triple expansion reciprocating steam engine, and what that means is when the engineer opens the throttle valve, it allows steam into the first valve for the engine. That's this piston valve here. And what happens is this piston valve opens for a period of time and then it closes again. And that allows what's called a charge of steam into the engine, and that goes above the piston in here of what's called the high pressure cylinder. So this is the first place steam comes in. That limited amount of steam, kind of like a basketball full of steam, pushes the piston down and expands and cools as it does so, because as it expands it will get cooler. It then goes from this piston through this second valve to the intermediate piston. So we're not introducing any new steam. It's still the same steam that was introduced into the first cylinder is now sent to the second cylinder. This cylinder is larger because the steam is now cooler and at a bigger size because it's already expanded some. And you need more square inches of piston to get the same power out of it. So that same steam pushes this piston down and expands and cools even further. And then that same steam is routed through this valve into the low pressure piston, which is really big. It's over 26 inches in diameter. It again expands and cools even further in this piston until it's almost to water.
And that piston is attached to a rod that essentially is attached to the shaft. And each piston, we have 3, and that force and that energy is driving the shaft, which is driving the propeller in the back of the boat.
The unique thing about this engine is that it's one of the few of its kind that are still operating in the country. But this was the style of engine used on almost all shipping from the late 1800s through the early 1900s. All the major ships, the Titanic, the Lusitania, battleships, cargo ships, and these little steamers all used versions of a triple expansion engine.
I hope you've enjoyed being on board the Virginia 5. I hope to have you out on a cruise for us one of these times in the near future.